Hello, you guys. My name is Ella Paige. I am a realtor here in Northeast Florida, and today I wanted to walk you through how I prepare for a successful open house. So a successful open house does not start the day of the open house. If I am hosting one on a Saturday, I typically will start planning for it on a Thursday. So yesterday I got these flyers printed at UPS and I have open house, the address, the day and time, a couple of photos, info on the house, and then my contact information. So I will print out 50 to 75 or so, and then the day before the open house, I will door knock the neighborhood, inviting the neighbors to the open house. So the goal is to hopefully talk to someone who is thinking of selling their house or know someone who's thinking of selling their house, or even buying. So I only really do this in neighborhoods that attract my target or ideal customer. So this neighborhood that I'm going to be doing an open house for is in Shearwater, which is a new community here in St. Johns County. And I have had a listing in this neighborhood last year, and then I have a couple of buyers building a house or still building in this neighborhood. So I'm very familiar with the neighborhood, and I want to pick up more business in this neighborhood. So hence why I am hosting the open house here. I'm gonna go door knock these flyers. I typically just leave them on the front door. I don't like to disturb people, especially since a lot of people work from home. So I stick them in the front door and then just hope to see some people out and about in their driveway or something like that. But yeah, let's get to door knocking. Okay, so now I want to go over all of the marketing materials and supplies that I bring to my open house. So one of the things I like to do is I put together a binder of all of the material or questions that a buyer could potentially ask me about this property. So this binder, what I do is I will research a lot about the market. So I'll have a sheet on schools, like what schools this property is zoned for and what they are rated. How many restaurants are within the nearest couple miles, how many parks, how many grocery stores, things like that in proximity to this particular house. So I like to print off a copy of that just to give people a feel for the area, because a lot of people are out-of-state buyers coming in town and touring open houses on a weekend. And also just shows that like I know my market area very well and that I'm well researched. So I print off those materials. I will also print off the seller's property disclosure, so that will have any known defects that materially affect the value of this house. So if they have any questions on that. And I will print off any features and upgrades. If it's my listing, I always will print a feature and upgrades list for the house on what the seller has done since living there. So I like to include that so buyers can see what all the seller has put into this house. If I have a copy of the floor plan, then I will include that in this binder too. I really just try to capture everything possible that a buyer may ask for. So I have this binder sitting on usually like the dining room table or the kitchen counter for people to reference, and I have it facing open so people know that they can flip through it. It's not my binder, it's there for them. And then I also will print off a ton of copies of the MLS sheet, so I will give that out to buyers as they walk in, and it also has my contact information on it. So if for some reason it's super busy and I don't get to talk to everyone, at least they've left with a piece of paper that has my contact information on it. I really like to do open houses with another agent if I can. I know that sometimes agents like to do them all by themselves so they can get all the buyer leads and not have to share, but I really feel like for a successful open house, it's best to have 2, sometimes 3 agents with you. So the way that I like to do that is to have a table set out front. with a sign-in sheet, so that way you gather everyone's contact information that comes through the door and then whether they're working with a realtor or not. That way I can follow up properly with people that have come in throughout the open house afterwards. So whether they are interested in that house or not, like I want to be their agent if they're not already working with one. So another thing that I do is I will make like an open house little flyer and put it in a plexiglass stand to put on the dining room table wherever I'm going to be displaying all of the marketing materials. I make sure I have enough business cards to pass out as well, and then make sure that my contact card in my phone is updated, because what I really like to do is when I'm chatting with a buyer and they have any questions or anything like that, I just say, hey, let me just shoot it over to you in a text message and send whatever they need right there to their phone. So I like to make sure that my contact card information, picture, all of that is updated as well. And the last thing that I like to do the day before the open house is make sure that I post about it on all of my social media platforms and invite everyone out to it. Okay, so now on to the day of the open house. There are so many moving parts that have to come together in such a short amount of time. So a lot of the things that I do honestly depend on what the seller will and will not allow. There's some sellers who are totally cool with me having snacks and drinks and music and making it almost like not a party, but just very enjoyable and lively of an open house. And then there's some sellers who want no drinks and snacks because they don't want anything to be spilt on their floors or things like that. So, which is definitely understandable. So it really depends on the seller, on what type of open house I'm going to have. But let's just go under the assumption that I am going to have to bring snacks and drinks and things like that. So I already have platters that I have purchased from Walmart that I will typically set snacks out. And I also have a cute little snack bin. And then I also got a sign from Hobby Lobby that says help yourself, that I set behind any food and drinks that I put out as well. So what I bring honestly depends on the time of the day and time of the year of the open house. So like if it's a big football weekend, I try and put out more football types of food. If it's closer to Easter, I'll try and put out like some Easter candy and things like that. So it honestly just depends what I bring. And then I'll normally bring like small bottles of water or like sparkling water, things like that. So I will go to Publix the day of and get all of that, and then also get balloons at Publix. So I like to put the balloons on the sign in the yard itself. And then I will head out to the property. Then as I'm driving into the property, I make sure that I put directional signs along the way. So I have to leave a lot earlier than when the open house actually starts. So I will go the direction from my house, and it's kind of dangerous, but I have to pull over, run across the road, put a sign in the yard, go to the next light, like where the next turns are. So leading them from major roads or highways, how to get to that house from each direction. So I do that. That takes usually a good 20-30 minutes of putting signs in the roads to leading them to the house. So I do that, and then I get to the house and make sure that everything is turned on, all the lights, set up all of the food, all of my marketing material, make sure I set up the sign-in table up front and have plenty of pens. And then I will make sure I have my speaker on, we're all up and running, and then I don't put the open house sign in the yard until it actually is about to start. I learned that the hard way, that if I get to the property, because normally I try and get there about 30 minutes before it starts. So if I go put the sign in the yard right when I get there, people think the open house has started. So that was definitely a little tip that I learned in one of my first few open houses, that people will just walk on in. And then during the open house, honestly, I just try to have conversations with everyone that walks in and introduce myself and just talk to them about what their plans are. I don't even like to talk about the house in particular. I'm really just trying to talk to them about what their timeline is, what they're looking for, if they're just casually browsing, if their neighbor's just trying to check on the neighbor's house that's for sale, or if they're seriously looking for properties. So I try to not make it too much about the house or salesy. I just genuinely try to talk to them about what their wants and needs are, and then depends how crazy the open house is. I can't talk to everyone at once, of course, so I try to, of course, give everyone my card. I hand them the MLS sheets at the sign-in table, so I know they already have that with my contact information on it. And then after the open house, pretty much all I do is I make sure that I follow up with anyone that did not have a realtor. And just depends on what our conversation was like. If it was about the open house that I was doing, if there was a question that I didn't have an answer for, getting them that answer. If it was about starting them up on an MLS search, doing that. So just follow up with them based on everyone's conversation that I had with them. And then I also will input their emails onto my weekly email list, so that way I stay front of mind to them. If they have a realtor, I don't, but anyone that doesn't have a realtor, I put them in my email list, just so they can see. I put out weekly tips, market information, local information, and just so they can think of me when they think of real estate, whether they need to buy a house in 2 weeks or in 2 years. So that is pretty much how I do my open houses, from before, during, and after tips for a successful open house. So I hope that this video helped someone out there. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments, and I really appreciate y'all watching, and I'll see you in my next video.